As usual, the one thing I'm praying for is that I'm able to put all this material in the time that I've been allotted. So far, I haven't succeeded once. So if I start moving faster than light, it's only because I'm trying to get all this material in on time. And I'm praying that the camera people will bear with me because I'll be going back and forth to the screen constantly. Now, one of the most common questions people ask me is, how did I get in this mess to begin with? It wasn't my choice. I was raised in an Illuminati family. When I was 3 years old, this is where they brought me to a special ceremony in which I was dedicated to the cause of Lucifer. Now, this is not unusual because in other religions, you will see people bringing their children to their churches, their synagogues, wherever, to have them dedicated to God. In the occult world, they dedicate their children to Lucifer or to Satan, depending on which branch of the occult you're from. In my case, it was to Lucifer. For the next 10 years, I remained in what's known as the outer court. Now, this is best understood as the Illuminati's seminary training ground. This is where you're learning all the religious beliefs, the practices, the rites, the rituals, different spells, incantations, the 8 nights of human sacrifice, all the Sabbats, the Etzbats, so on and so forth. So by the time I was 13 years old, I was fully initiated as a member of the Illuminati. Towards the end of the ceremony, what they did, they brought forth a book that was made out of lamb's hide. They took a ceremonial knife called athame, and they cut my arm wide open. I was passed a quilled feather, and I had to dip it in my own blood and sign my occult name in this book. This book is known as the Book of the Dead, as opposed to what the Christian Bible calls what we have is the Lamb's Book of Life. If you're going to understand the occult, understand it in this way. Everything is based upon a reversal or a counterfeit principle straight from the scriptures. So for the next 4 years, I was learning the ins and outs of the Illuminati, just like anyone else in there. Except in my case, I also had 169 years worth of family history that I was also learning. So by the time I was 17, this is when I was initiated as a third-level witch. Generically speaking, it's known as a master witch, or what's properly known as a high druid priest. This gave me automatic authority over a region. Now, a region is the governing area in which an Illuminati has full authority over. In this particular region, we had over 1,000 Illuminists within it. A year later, under orders from my bosses, and I'm going to tell you right now, I was under orders. This was not my decision. I joined the United States Army. There was an ongoing plan since the mid-60s in which the Illuminati were infiltrating military bases throughout the world. The reason they were doing this is because they wanted to gain access and control over all the forts throughout the world. Now, if you can gain access, of course, to these soldiers, let's say you set up a coven at a particular base. You recruit the people from communications, from supply, wherever. If these people are in, and they're one of you, well, because they're one of you, you have access to what they have access to. And we're talking about some very high-level secrets now. But because they were one of us, they would just bring all this stuff over to us upon demand. Now, when I was in Fort Lewis, Washington, this is where I first started my first coven, if you would. This was Fort Lewis, Washington. About 2 weeks after I got there, I had easily 20 people already recruited. Now, a couple of months into this, we already had at least 100 people at that point. I was basically walking down the street minding my own business when this associate stopped me. It wasn't anyone I really knew too well. It was just someone I happened to have bumped into every now and then. At the end of the conversation, he asked me what I thought was a very ridiculous question. Would you like to go to church with me on Sunday? Now remember, this person was an Illuminati witch. We practice the rites of human sacrifice 8 times a year. We stay in constant communication with demons. And he asked me, would I like to go to church with him on Sunday? Well, I can't repeat exactly what I said because of decency, but now, as I was saying before, I have a lot of material I am literally going to be flying through. Lord willing, I'll be able to get through this in time. Now, if any of you have studied the history of the Illuminati, you're going to recognize this gentleman immediately. This man is Dr. Adam Weishaupt. He was the very first head of the Order of the Illuminati. Back in 1773, when he held the chair of the professorship of Jewish canon law at the University of Ingolstadt in Bavaria, Germany, he was approached by Meyer Amschel Bauer and 12 of his most financially influential friends, which makes up your first covenant of 13, if you would. And they basically approached this man and said, listen, you've got the occult knowledge and the genius who put it all together. We've got the money. You do it, we'll back it. This is just paraphrasing the whole thing. But basically, 3 years later, on May 1st, 1776, Dr. Adam Weishaupt had succeeded in culminating the plans of the Illuminati, their complete organizational structure, the belief, the whole thing. This man was considered an expert in most of the occult schools of his day and age. Now, we're going to be getting into this part of it later, but the idea of Illuminism did not begin with this man. It can actually be traced all the way back to Babylon around 3500 BC. We will be getting into this. The gentleman underneath Dr. Weishaupt is Baron Adolf von Koenig. It was through this man's brilliancy that the Illuminati really began to flourish. 2,000 of the most powerful, influential people in Germany joined the Order of the Illuminati in a matter of years because of this man. We are talking about these people. They had three things in common. They had wealth, they had power, and they had letters. That is to say, they were intellectuals. Now think about this for a second. Could you imagine what we could do right now as a Christian people if we could gather the 2,000 wealthiest people in America? What could we do for Christ then? Literally, we would do what the apostles did and turn the world upside down. How many people recognize this familiar symbol? Okay. If you people would be good enough, please take a dollar bill out, because we're going to be going through this. Okay, if everyone has their dollar bill out, if you'll please follow me, follow along. You will notice on your dollar bill, this seal will appear on the left-hand side. Okay, you will notice at the very top of the pyramid a 13-letter expression, and directly beneath it, another one. This is, in Latin, it says, Annuit Corruptus Novus Ordo Seclorum, which means announcing the birth of a new world order. This new world order, now if you look at the bottom of the pyramid in Roman numerals, it says MDCCLXXVI. This is 1776. But we are not talking about July 4th. We are talking about May 1st, 1776, the very day in which the Illuminati was officiated. I will be able to show this part of it to you afterwards as far as the proof that this is indeed May 1st. You will notice the pyramid itself is made up of 13 levels. Now, I'm sure many of us have heard of numerology before. This is where you take numbers and assign them to letters, correct? You will notice there's another system in the occult that's known as gematria. Gematria will give you the definition to those numbers. In other words, 6 is the number for man, 36 is the number for the enemy, 16 is the number for love, and I'm sure we all know what the number 666 means, correct? Right. The banner in Latin says E pluribus unum. Translated, E pluribus unum means one out of many. But the question is, one out of many what? When Dr. Adam Weishaupt was formulating the Illuminati, he was infiltrating the Masons, the Jesuits, the Rosicrucians, and other occult schools of his day and age. What he was doing was taking the best and the brightest minds out of these organizations and bringing them into his own. What he was doing was forming one group out of many group. This is what that is talking to. You will notice the eagle is looking to the right. Whenever the bird, symbolically speaking, looks to the right, it's looking on in favor of whatever it's looking towards. Compare this to the Nazi warbird of World War II, where it was looking to the left, away, in opposition. In other words, it was not looking on in favor. An eagle bird, correct? Most people have never seen the original seal that was accepted by Congress in 1782. This seal, which bears the eagle, was only designed like that back in 1933. In other words, that was the first time the eagle itself appeared on the seal. I'm going to show you the original one, and then you try to tell me what it looks like. The Egyptian phoenix, correct. According to Egyptian mythology, the phoenix bird itself would live for about 400 to 500 years. Afterwards, it would come down upon the face of the earth and be consumed in its own fire. Out of the ashes, an egg would be left behind, and out of that egg, a new phoenix bird would emerge. This would complete the cycle of reincarnation. This particular eagle is not what we call a perfect one, because the wings have 32 feathers and one has 33. This is because they represent the two factors of masonry. One factor, the York Rite, has 32 degrees, and the Scottish Rite has 33 degrees. We're going to get into the Masons and how they've been fooled. And literally 95% of all Masons do not realize that they've been victimized. You will notice a very unusual breastplate upon the eagle. There are 12 horizontal lines and 18 vertical lines. 12 in gematria is the number for governmental perfection. 18 is the number for bondage. But what is more interesting is that these 18 lines are broken down into 6 sections, making the white field into 7. 6 is the number for man, 7 is the number for God. What they are literally doing is putting man above God. You will notice the eagle has 8 talons or claws in that they are clenched. 8 is the number for new beginnings. But once again, they are clenched. Symbolically speaking, something's being taken away. If something was being given, they would be open. The olive branch on the left-hand side has 13 leaves and 13 berries. Over here we have 13 arrows. The olive branch itself represents peace, and the berries represents the fruit of that peace. The arrows represent our military might and our ability to defend ourselves. But notice how they're being taken away. Tail feathers have always been used for guidance and stability. We all know this. 9 tail feathers. 9 is the number for completion of that which is finished. What this seal is saying in light of the other seal is that this new world order is going to be eternally crowned with depravity and rebellion, having formed itself out of many groups. Through reincarnation, this new group has emerged as a perfect government and holding us in bondage. This new government will place man above God, taking away our peace and our ability to defend ourselves, and that it is now complete. But it doesn't stop there. We're just scratching the tip of the iceberg right now. If you notice very carefully, can we see the difference between the phoenix and the eagle? I think once we take a good look at them side by side or on top of each other, we see an obvious difference. One of the most foulest, there's no sign more evil than this particular symbol.